Okay, hi. Today I'm going to show you how to plan your initial irrigation system. So what we've done is we're running a few different zones here from a pump, where some of the zones runs to irrigate your grass, and there's say 3 or 4 zones for the different however big my garden is, and then a separate zone is for my flowers. The reason I've set up different zones is because grass I might only want to water once a week or once every other week, but the flower beds I'll probably want to do more regularly, and so I'll run that on a separate zone on a timer. But also it's got a slightly slower flow rate than my main sprayers, and so I'm going to quickly talk you through what we've set up here and hopefully help you a little bit to set up your own. So let's get going. Divide your garden into watering zones based on the watering needs and the number of sprayers that you can fit on each zone. So first things, I'll just use a little basic diagram. So if you imagine these are 2 types of setups that you can run, where your pump will be at the top, you've got a pipe coming down, and then it splits like an upside down U, where you pop in your sprayers along 2 lines like that. Another way you can do it is running a pipe down the middle and then teeing off all your different sprinklers on the system. What I've done here is I've gone for this option to tee off, and I'll show you in a second why. What you probably don't want to do is run something like this, where you just start from one end and just connect sprinklers in like a daisy chain. The problem with that is your first sprinkler will have a very high pressure, but by the time you get to your last sprinkler, you're not going to have very much pressure at all, so your system's really not going to work that much. So we're going to talk through this type of setup, and I'll quickly show you what I've got here. Just before we run in there, maybe talk you through a couple of the sprayers that I've got here. So this is Klaber, but it doesn't really matter which brand you're going to go for. All of your pipes and stuff, I've done a separate video on the components that make up a system, and it's worth looking at that one. Design your system by drawing your plan and listing all individual components. I'll take you up to the pump in a second. We'll fire the pump up and run through the system, but basically we've got a trench down the middle here, which is your initial line, and then we split off 2 different sprinklers. So on this particular system, this is the main kind of channel that runs down the middle here. We tee off from our MDP, this is 20mm MDP pipes. Each of these connections has got a small little inlet like this, which just helps make a better joint here, and I have got another video that shows you how to make one of these joints and why you'd use these type of stuff. It runs off, the main line keeps going off, and then I tee off to each of the individual sprinklers that will come down to here. Now, because I'm still running a test, one of the biggest things you're trying to figure out is how many sprinklers can you put on your system, and how far do they need to be apart. What you can do is on these particular sprinklers, and you can probably go onto the manufacturer's website as well, they will tell you exactly, depending on the bar, so the pressure in your system, how far or how much of a radius your sprinklers will need to be, and how far apart they need to be. That's all good and well. The problem is, I'll give you an example. So on my mains, I've got between 3 and 4 bar, which is really good, but the flow rate, so the amount of water that can push through there, is very, very low. So although I've got a high pressure, because the water can't get out quick enough, it runs fewer sprinklers. So for example, on my mains, I can only run 2, which doesn't work any well. So what I've got here is I'm setting up a tank with a pump, and that runs also on 3 bar, same as the mains, but for my grass I can run 5 sprinklers. On these ones, I'll quickly show you, I've got 1 down there, number 2, further down in the corner, 3, on the far side 4, in this corner there 5, number 6 over here, and a 7th one over on this side. Now these particular sprinklers are 0 to 350, so I can only focus them, say I just want to do an 80 degree or a 90 degree bend, which means I can use less water. Instead of just watering on the grass, I can actually set them that they only spray in that direction. That'll half the amount, which means I can add more sprinklers, that I could do all my flowers on a single zone. The way I've set this up is I've used the manufacturer's measurements to work out what my initial distance would be, and because I've done the grass ones, a little bit of experience, so I know roughly how long and far they need to be apart. These are about 5 meters, 4.5, 5 meters apart. What I've then done, I've used a piece of wood that I've put into the ground laid out my initial pipes, tied them onto that stake, and that's going to be a nice way of testing when I fire up this system whether this works or not. I've given myself enough pipe here that if I want to move a little bit to that way or a little bit to this way, I've got enough area that I can move up or down, and then eventually once I'm happy I can then dig this in. And these are 4-inch pop-ups, by the way, so they will come out that high to be able to go up and over the flowers here. So we're going to give this a test. What I want to do is try and see if I can get another sprinkler down this end, number 8, and keep adding more in the system. So I'm about to add another one down this end. Again, just teeing off the same way, the middle pipe running through and just teeing off each side all down this length of the garden. And I'm hoping I can get more to get the spray. So let me take you down there and we'll fire up the pump and see what happens if it works. This is a little test system that we're running here. So eventually we will have a 3,600 litre tank, and I'll do a video of how you set up your tank to run. We're going to have buildings over here that the water runs into that system with a couple of filters to make sure they don't get a lot of dirt in your system. And then from there, I've got this pump, which is 5,000. This is a Talus 5,100 litre. There's a separate video that shows you, by the way, how to prime your pumps. So I'm not going to talk about all that now. For today, I've just set up a little swimming pool over there with some water in. I've already primed the pump. I've got my inlet. This is a 1-inch pipe running down with a non-return valve going into the water. We're going to suck the water up here, and then it's going to go into this particular pipe, which runs up to the rest of my system. Now, right where I'm standing, there's a whole lot of pipes hidden under here, which runs to the different zones. And what's handy is you'll notice I've got a little color on each of the pipes where they come out here. So for example, there's a black one, here's a red one, there's a green one, a yellow one. So there's a number of pipes here, and all of these spider to the different areas. So I'll do another video where I'll show you how to set up your solenoid, which is your valves connected to your timers, which can then turn all of these different pipes on and off with the timer. But what we're doing for now, I've just connected the one pipe in here, running into the test area. We're going to fire that up and see whether this initial setup works for our flower irrigation. If we're happy with it, we're going to try and add some more sprinklers, tweak it a little bit, and once we're happy with that, that's when we dig it into the ground, and I'll show you separately how to do that as well. Alright, let's fire up this little baby and see what happens. There it goes, fires up, good enough for a test, so let's go and have a look. Oh, I'm very happy with that. Beautiful, beautiful. As you can see, they've pushed up beautifully, 4 inches. Currently, this is running at 3 bars, so they will push out about 8 liters per minute on these ones. The other one, probably the bigger ones, do 10 up to 12 liters a minute. To complete your installation, dig trenches and install your system underground. Remember to check for leaks before filling trenches. This is what I'd mentioned down there when I said solenoid valves that turns the pumps on and off. We'll talk through those in a separate video. Also, rain sensor, because you don't want your pump turning on when it's after it's rained or something like that. So we'll talk through those in a different one. And again, there's some kind of a timer that we can use. But for now, I've got my 7 sprinklers. They're working really beautifully, spraying all over the flowers down there. That means I can add another 1, 2, possibly another 3 sprinklers. I'm very happy with this. That's how you do an initial test on your system. If you don't know how to do this, maybe do an initial pipe, put 1 or 2 sprinklers in, see how far they spray between the two, and that'll give you an indication of how far. But what you want to do is you want a decent, at least a meter crossover, so that if I stand in the middle of my sprayers like that, up to here and up to here each side, I'm getting a decent amount of water. So I'm going to get out of here, I'm getting wet. Simple to do. Have a go. If you've got any questions, pop them down the middle. But that is how I'm starting to set up my system, and it's working really good. Give it a go. See you next time. Bye. I got work to do. Gotta go.